In 1997, a team of neuroscientists made an observation that most of the academic world quietly filed away and never discussed publicly. They were studying gamma brainwaves, the highest frequency brainwave the human brain produces, the one linked to peak creativity, sudden knowing, and what the researchers described as coherent pattern recognition across unrelated fields. The ability to see connections that other people simply cannot see. What they found was this. A small group of people showed gamma wave patterns that were not just higher than average. They were categorically different, not just elevated, architecturally distinct, like a completely different operating system running on the same hardware. And what these people had in common was not education, not background, not even intelligence scores. What they shared was a long season of silence, a sustained period of what the researchers carefully described as low input, high endurance processing, long stretches of waiting, of pushing through without external reward, of staying faithful to something invisible. What the spiritual world calls a wilderness season, science calls a neurological upgrade. And if you have been in that season, if you have been carrying something heavy and unnameable for longer than you can explain, then what I am about to share with you today is not just encouragement, it is information you were meant to receive right now. Because God is not just rewarding your faithfulness, He is activating something in you that this world has never seen before. Before we go deeper, I want to tell you what is waiting for you at the end of this video, because what I am about to walk you through is not something to skip ahead on. You are going to understand exactly what this power is, where it comes from, why it has felt blocked, and what is happening in your life right now that is directly connected to it being released. Stay with me through both parts. Every piece of this builds on the last, and by the time we reach the end, you will not just feel different. You will understand why. Now, let me talk about who you actually are, not the version of you that shows up exhausted to an ordinary day, not the version that wonders, quietly, in the moments before sleep, whether any of this is going anywhere. Not the version that looks around at what other people seem to be receiving and asks the question you have been too honest not to ask. What is wrong with me? I need you to hear this. Nothing is wrong with you, but something specific is happening to you, and it has been happening for a long time. And the reason it has been so hard to name is because the world does not have a category for the kind of person you are. You are not someone who gave up on faith. You are not someone who stopped trying. You are not someone who chose comfort over calling. You are the person who stayed, who kept showing up when every visible sign said to stop, who kept believing in something you could not prove, could not show anyone, could not even fully explain to yourself, because something deep inside you said this is not over. That kind of staying is not passive. It is one of the hardest things a human being can do. And yet here you are, still here, still watching, still asking, still seeking, still carrying this sense that there is something inside you that has not been fully used yet. Not a delusion, not wishful thinking, a signal. Because there is a specific kind of person that God builds slowly, not because He has forgotten them, but because what He is building in them requires time that ordinary blessings do not require. The deeper the foundation, the longer it takes to pour. And what is being built in you, what has been quietly assembling in the silence of every season you thought nothing was happening, is not an ordinary structure. What felt like delay was actually development. What felt like being left behind was actually being positioned. What felt like silence was actually the most active thing God has ever done in your life. I want to show you why. There is a pattern that appears, without exception, in every person who has ever carried an unusual gift into the world. Not a general gift, an unusual one, the kind the world does not immediately have a place for. Think about Joseph. He did not go from the dream to the palace. He went from the dream to the pit, and then from the pit to the prison, and then, after years that must have felt like eternity, from the prison to the seat of authority. And what he carried into that moment, the ability to read patterns, to see what was hidden, to hold wisdom under pressure without breaking. None of that was given to him in a single moment of blessing. It was formed over years, in the dark. Think about David. He was anointed king as a teenager and did not sit on the throne for over a decade. In between, he ran, he hid, he lost people he loved. He sat in caves and wrote songs that sounded like grief and sounded like faith at the same time, because they were both. And when he finally stepped into what he had been anointed for, he carried something that no comfort could have built in him. This is the pattern. And it is not just biblical. Neuroscience has been quietly confirming it. Researchers studying brainwave patterns in high-performing individuals found something that surprised them. The people who showed the most distinct gamma wave architecture, the ones with the deepest capacity for insight, intuition, and what the labs called anomalous pattern recognition, were not the ones who had the easiest paths. They were the ones who had endured the longest stretches of high resistance and low reward. The brain, under sustained pressure without external stimulation, does not stay the same. It reorganizes. It builds new pathways. It develops a kind of processing architecture that the brain in comfort does not develop. The wilderness does not just test you, it upgrades you, and you have been in an upgrade. Now, I need to be honest with you about something, because right now you might be thinking you understand. You might be feeling a wave of relief. The delay makes sense. The silence makes sense. The formation is real, and all of that is true, but understanding the formation is only half of it, because what was actually being formed in you, specifically the nature of this power, what it actually is, how it actually works, and why it is unlike anything the world has seen before, that is where this gets unusual. And I hear the Father saying this over you right now. I have not forgotten you. What I planted in you has roots deeper than your circumstances, deeper than your longest night, deeper than every voice that told you this was not going to happen. I planted it before you were aware. And what I plant, I do not abandon. But here is what most people do with that. They receive the comfort and they stop there. They feel seen, they feel reassured, and they move on without understanding the specific nature of what is inside them. And that is the most costly mistake a chosen one can make. Because a power you do not understand is a power you cannot use. And a power you cannot use, no matter how real it is, remains locked. So, let me tell you what this power actually is, because I think when I describe it, something in you is going to recognize it. Not because you learned it just now, but because you have felt it before, in your best moments. In the moments that were so clear and so sharp and so alive that you wished you could live in them permanently. This power is not the power of charisma, it is not the power of talent or education or strategy or the right connections. People with all of those things have come and gone without leaving a mark. This power is something different. It is the capacity to see what others cannot see. To sense what is underneath the surface of a situation before anyone else in the room has named it, to make connections between things that appear unrelated and find the thread that runs through all of them, to hold steady in situations that shatter other people, not because you are unaffected, but because something in you knows, on a level that is not entirely rational, that there is a plan underneath the chaos. You have felt this. In the moment when you somehow knew something before it happened and had no logical reason to know it. In the moment when a solution arrived, fully formed, not built step by step but simply present, like it was handed to you from somewhere you cannot name. In the moment when you looked at a situation everyone else called hopeless and felt, without explanation, that it was not. That is not luck. That is not imagination. That is your power, partially activated. What God is releasing right now is the full version. And there is something I found while researching this, something from Princeton, about what scientists call a gamma switch, a specific mechanism for bringing this frequency back online, deliberately, directly. I am going to tell you about that in part 2. Because before I do, there is something else you need to understand first. Something that will explain why this power has felt blocked. And once you understand it, everything that has confused you about your own life is going to make a different kind of sense. Because the block is not spiritual, it is structural. And it was not accidental. There is a reason the most powerful people in any generation feel the most suppressed in the generation before they rise. There is a reason the chosen one so often spends years feeling like they are living below their own ceiling. There is a reason this particular gift, this specific architecture of perception and wisdom and intuition, is the one that the world's systems are least equipped to support. That reason is what we need to talk about next. And when we get to the other side of it, I am going to show you what God is doing right now to dismantle it. Stay with me. We established something important. The power is real. It has been forming in you for years. And it was not formed despite the hard seasons. It was formed through them. But we left at a question. Why has it felt blocked? And the answer to that question changes everything. Here is what most people are never told about the human brain. From birth to roughly the age of 7, children operate at a frequency that neuroscientists have spent decades trying to understand. Their brains produce gamma waves at levels that adults simply do not sustain. And the effects of that are not subtle. Children in full gamma function learn at a pace that should not be possible by adult standards. They make intuitive leaps across subjects with no effort. They access states of flow, of creative absorption, so naturally that it looks like play. They carry a sense of wonder and clarity and effortless connection that most adults spend the rest of their lives trying to recover. And then something happens. Around the age of 7, researchers began observing what they call the decline effect. Gamma wave activity begins to drop, not because of damage, not because of illness, but because of environment. Because of a system that was designed, not maliciously, but structurally, to produce compliant, predictable, manageable output. Schools, schedules, evaluation. Reward for conformity and correction for deviation. The system needed people who fit. And gamma does not fit. It asks questions the room is not ready for. It sees solutions before the problem has been officially named. It does not sit still when stillness is required, and it does not stop when the bell rings. So the system did what systems do. It quieted it, not with force, with repetition. With years of conditioning that gradually, incrementally, tuned the brain away from the frequency it was born at, towards something slower, safer, more manageable. And most people never even notice it happened because the shift is so gradual that by the time it is complete, they have forgotten what they felt like before. But you noticed, not consciously maybe, but somewhere inside you, you have always known that you used to be different. That there was a version of you, a younger version, who moved through the world with a kind of ease and clarity and aliveness that somewhere along the way went quiet. You might have called it losing your spark, or growing up, or just the way life is. It was not any of those things. It was the decline effect. And here is why it hit you harder than most. The people who carry the kind of gifting we have been describing, the gamma outliers, the ones with the unusual architecture, they did not start at average gamma levels. They started higher, which means when the decline effect moved through them, the gap it created was larger. The distance between who they were and who the system shaped them to be was greater than what ordinary people experience. This is why you feel it so acutely. This is why the sense that you are living below your own ceiling is not vague, but sharp and specific. This is why the frustration is not general restlessness, but something that feels almost like grief. Grief for a version of yourself you can almost remember. That grief is real, and it is appropriate. Because something genuinely was taken. Not forever, but taken. And what I need you to understand, what I need you to hold on to as we move forward, is that what was taken by a system was not planted by a system. God placed that gamma architecture in you before any system had access to you. He designed the wiring before the conditioning began. And what he designed, he did not design to be permanently dimmed. He designed it to come back online. And I hear the Father saying this now. What I placed in you, no system was designed to contain. No silence was long enough to erase it. No year of waiting diminished what I built. The frequency I wrote into your design before you were born is still there. It was never deleted. It was only waiting for the moment I chose to reactivate it. And that moment is not approaching, it is now. You came into this knowing something was off. You knew there was more inside you than what was coming out. You knew the version of yourself you were showing the world was not the complete picture, and you were right. But here is what I need to say to you with complete clarity, not as encouragement, but as a statement of fact. You are not a person who lost something ordinary. You are not someone who had average gifts and then life happened to them. You are someone who was born with an unusually high frequency, who was specifically designed to see, to know, to sense, and to carry a form of insight that most people do not have access to, who has spent years in the exact formation process that the most extraordinary lives require, and who is standing right now at the threshold of something the world does not have a precedent for. The sensitivity that they told you was too much. It is how high gamma brains process depth that lower frequency minds cannot access. The intensity that they told you was exhausting. It is the signal of a system running at a power level it was not designed to contain forever. The feeling that you do not fit, that you belong somewhere you cannot yet name. It is not a flaw in your wiring. It is confirmation that your wiring was built for something this current version of your life has not yet made room for. You are commissioned. You are called. You are carrying something specific, and you have been carrying it faithfully. Through every season that gave you no evidence it was real. What I placed in you is time. Now, if you understand everything we have walked through, you might feel like we are done. You know the power is real. You know where it came from. You know why it was suppressed. You know who you are. But knowledge alone will not reactivate what was quieted. Understanding the wiring does not turn the power back on. And this is the part I promised you in part 1. I told you I found something in the Princeton research, something that scientists call a gamma switch, a specific, measurable way to bring this frequency back online, not through effort, not through years of discipline, not through a practice that requires you to become a different kind of person before it works, a direct mechanism. And I want to tell you about it now, because I know who is listening to this. I know what you have already tried. And I want to say something before I tell you what this is, because I think you deserve honesty before anything else. You have tried things that did not work. Maybe meditation, maybe sound healing, maybe retreats, maybe practices that everyone around you swore would change your life, and you showed up faithfully, and something shifted for a day or two, and then you were back where you started. And every time that happened, you absorbed a little more of the quiet conclusion that maybe you were the problem, maybe you were not doing it right. Maybe the transformation that other people seemed to find was not for you. I need you to hear this. You were not the problem. The methods were not reaching the right mechanism. Meditation is powerful. But to genuinely shift gamma architecture through meditation alone takes months, sometimes years, of sustained daily practice. Most human beings cannot maintain that consistency, not because they are weak, but because the system they live in is designed to prevent it. What brain entrainment technology does is different. It does not ask your brain to change through effort. It introduces a frequency directly into the auditory system through carefully designed sound, and the brain responds by synchronizing to it. Not eventually, not after months of practice. The synchronization begins immediately. This is not metaphor. This is how the auditory cortex and the thalamus communicate. This is neuroacoustics. This is measurable on an EEG in real time. and a neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake, with 34 years of research behind him and collaborations with institutions including MIT, Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, and Berkeley, spent years working on a specific question: could this mechanism be simplified? Could the full benefit of gamma entrainment be delivered in a format that was accessible to an ordinary person, in an ordinary life, without equipment, without extensive training, without the kind of time commitment that most people do not have? The answer was yes. He compressed it into 7 minutes. An audio track, 7 minutes. Listen to through headphones, with your eyes closed, anywhere you are. No techniques to learn, no posture to maintain, no particular belief required. Just 7 minutes, and the frequency begins its work. I want to tell you about a woman who found this at a moment when she had genuinely run out of alternatives. She was 38 years old. She had been through meditation retreats, yoga intensives, spiritual workshops, and had read more books on healing and awakening than most libraries carry. She described herself as someone who had genuinely sought connection her entire adult life and never found it in a way that lasted. She did not try this because she believed in it. She tried it because she said, and I am quoting her directly, she had nothing left to lose. 2 weeks later, she described what happened using a single word: synchronicities. Not that her finances changed overnight. Not that every problem dissolved, but that the universe, her words, began speaking to her in a language she could finally understand. That things she had been reaching for years began arriving without effort. That she stopped feeling like she was pushing against life and started feeling like life was moving with her. That is Gamma Online. That is what Dr. Lake designed this track to do. The technology itself was born out of research. The validation comes from labs, not testimonials. And 18,366 people have now used it. This is the genius song, and if you want to experience it, the investment is not what you would expect. To work with a biofeedback therapist who can manually guide your brain into gamma activation, you are looking at $300 per session. The professional equipment for home use runs close to $7,000. Even the most rigorous meditation programs, the ones with legitimate neurological effects, require years of consistent practice that most people cannot sustain. Dr. Lake made a different decision. He packaged everything, the full technology, the complete gamma entrainment sequence, into this 7-minute track and priced it at $49. Less than one session of the therapy it replaces. But because of the audience this video was made for, people who have been faithful through long seasons and who deserve access to this without the barrier of price, there is a special arrangement. For everyone watching this video, the price is $39. That price does not exist on Amazon. It does not exist on Spotify, on any other platform, anywhere else online. It was created specifically for you, and at $39 you receive the track itself, plus 4 additional resources at no extra cost. A second track designed for children to help them maintain the gamma architecture they were born with before the decline effect reaches them. A book, the original text that inspired the film The Secret, not the popular version but the source material, valued at $20 on its own. A guided visualization experience designed to help you build a detailed, sensory image of the life you are moving toward. And a printed infographic of the 5 most important daily habits for living in alignment with what is being built in you. All of that with a 100% money-back guarantee. No conditions. No time limit on the number of uses before you return it. If you feel no difference, you get every dollar back, with no explanation required. The only risk here is not trying it. Now, I need to tell you something important before you go looking for this. There are sites online using the name Genius Song and selling audio files that have nothing to do with Dr. Lake's research. No brain entrainment technology embedded, no legitimate frequency sequencing, just regular audio with a label attached. The people who buy those versions feel nothing because there is nothing in them to feel. The only place to access the real track with the full technology, the 4 bonuses, and the money-back guarantee is the link I have placed in the description of this video and in the pinned comment below. Do not search for it elsewhere. What you find elsewhere is not what I am describing. And if you are wondering whether now is the right time, I want to offer you something honest. Every day your gamma frequency remains suppressed is not a neutral day. It is a day you continue to operate below the capacity you were designed for. A day the power remains present but inaccessible. A day the world does not receive what only you can bring to it. The question is not whether this is worth trying. The question is how much longer you are willing to wait, and the version of you that is already living on the other side of this decision, the one operating in full frequency, the one whose gifts are finally running at the level they were designed for. That version did not wait for perfect certainty. They recognized the moment, and they chose. Now let me close with something that matters more than any of this, because everything we have talked about today, the formation, the suppression, the activation, all of it is pointing to something larger than a technique or a track or a discovery. It is pointing to who you are and what you are here to do. What felt like isolation was actually incubation. What felt like being overlooked was actually being prepared for a visibility the world is not yet ready for, but is about to receive. What felt like your longest and hardest season was actually God pouring the deepest foundation He has ever poured for anything He has trusted to a human being. You went in carrying questions, and you are coming out carrying answers. You went in feeling forgotten, and you are coming out understanding you were always seen. You went in believing the delay was the problem, and you are leaving knowing the delay was the point. And I hear the Father speaking over you now. Go. The world has waited long enough, and so have you. What I placed in you before you were born, what I protected through every season that tried to take it, what I have been preparing since the moment I chose you, it is ready. You are ready. The power you carry is unlike anything this world has seen, because there has never been anyone exactly like you before, and there never will be again. Go now. It is time. You are not ordinary. You have never been ordinary. The waiting is not evidence that God forgot you. It is evidence of how seriously He takes what He placed in you. Because what is being released through your life right now was not designed for a small audience or a small moment. It was designed for this. You are chosen. You are commissioned. You carry a power that this world has no category for yet. And it is yours. It has always been yours. Go carry it.